as built environment professionals in academia, your major role is to basically mold our way of thinking. And I have to admit that I'm guilty of thinking beyond just, actually not even thinking beyond, not thinking at all about the end user. Most of the time, not even designing, thinking of the end user. So how would you, as a professional in academia, going to teach the students to think of the end user in such a way that it contributes to social justice?
Very good. Thank you for asking this question. So the starting point is to be a little bit critical about how we have taught courses in engineering, and make sure that already in first year, first semester, first course, if possible, we ask that question. So for whom are we designing our fantastic bridges? And so what I've done, and I don't want to take any praise here, but what we have done in our department, for example, is introduce students to something that I call functional design. I think it's quite normal actually in other fields in engineering, but in civil we have forgotten about functionality a lot. So we are immediately focusing on, okay, let's build a road, let's do this. But actually, let's go back to what is this piece of infrastructure actually supposed to do? And once you ask that question, the next question obviously is, and for whom are we doing this? And then you're back to Sula's comment about the distribution question. So who gets what and when? So it is about people. Infrastructure should be about people. So we have to make sure that we design inclusive infrastructure, but so also teach inclusive infrastructure. And that's I think the first thing to do. Second thing to do, and that's what you already indicated, Marute, is that actually we need to make sure that beyond our curriculum, we get our students to reach out and identify those areas or those people that are not served by our current infrastructure and focus on them next.
What do you tell your students? How do they use what they're learning from you and to promote social justice? Because the kind of work that both you guys do is, as Mark has said and you've said it as well, is directly related to social justice.
Thanks, Tony, for that question. Yes, I would also echo what Mark is saying in that a proper needs analysis needs to always be done, even within the lecturing space, because if you've got an outcomes-based approach whereby the end user is always kept in mind, I think you are always then having the people that are putting the design into place mindful of what it is actually used for, So that first point, I would echo what Mark is saying. And I think I would add on to that to say, in addition, I would always push to ask, how can it be done efficiently? Because to have a mindset of, pushing social justice, but doing it in an unsustainable way, also doesn't serve to bring forward a system that will be able to continue. If you look at an example of, for example, in South Africa, after 1994, your electrification rates in South Africa were, I think they were approximately at 54%. And between 1995 and 2018, we went all the way up to 95% electrification. If the aim was just to say, let's electrify everywhere, it never would have been a sustainable, approach in the field of electrical engineering and, the National Electrification Program. The question as this was developing was, how can it be done in such a way that it still becomes sustainable? So there was thought to say, hey, we need to make sure that people have electricity, basic access to electricity to meet their needs. But how can we do it in such a way that it's financially feasible for government to be able to do it, and it's able to last? And if you look at it, first they looked at how the population was dispersed. So first we look at areas whereby there's more people to basically be able to bring forward a business case to say, let's electrify this area. And then from that on, the proceeds of that, we come to the areas that are then less electrified, and then we say, okay, how can we now use proceeds of that to still cover these areas where people cannot afford, and etc. So the economic and the efficiency and sustainability of the decisions that are being made have to always be taken into account. Otherwise, the social drive or activity becomes pointless, because it's going to die at some point if it's not sustainable. And that's one of the key things I push to teach my students. It has to be sustainable. Have the end user in mind. Create something that is sustainable, that can run for itself, that can result in some form of proceeds that can then be further put into those communities and result in further growth and so forth.